All right, welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Mike, also known as FlyFisher530. Today we're going to be continuing on with my DIY build series for my Jeep platform. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I highly recommend it. Part 1 dealt with removing the seats in the Jeep, cutting out some plastic side molding, cutting out some carpeting, cutting out some brackets, kind of getting the Jeep ready for creating the templates, which was really what part 2 was about. We started with a cardboard template system for the back of the Jeep, matching the contours of the Jeep. We then transferred that template onto a full-size foam board that matched the full size of the platform that I'm going to be using in this project. I've never seen anybody use that before, and I actually think it worked out really well. I'm really glad I did that. If you need to get caught up on anything, I highly recommend checking out parts 1 and 2. Part of the project will also include a slide-out system for a refrigerator, and ISCO was nice enough to send me their APL 55 dual zone refrigerator, which I'm super excited to start using. This dual zone refrigerator is a 55 liter or 58 quart refrigerator, and they also sent me the slide that goes with it. So super excited to get that going, installing the slide, and letting you guys see how this works out. And we'll be covering that refrigerator later on in this build series. But yeah, so this part 3 is going to be focusing on basically seeing how the platform fits in the back of the Jeep, doing any trimming that's necessary. Once we're satisfied with the fit, then we'll bolt it down to the base of the Jeep, and then we'll be working on the front side of the platform where the storage compartments are, creating the bracing underneath, creating the compartments underneath. There's a lot to do in part 3, so stay tuned, guys. I think you're going to like this one. All right, we're almost ready to get started putting in the platform, but first I wanted to show you guys what I'm doing here. This is some sound deadening material to peel off and stick on. You can order these in these square sheets from Amazon. They'll be in my Amazon store link below. I'm not really doing this so much for sound deadening as much as I want to give the platform some additional support beyond where these ribs go. So you can see there's a bit of a gap, and I'm going to fill in to some extent, not everywhere, with this material, the stick-on material, just to give the platform some additional support. Also, in the last video I talked about using these bolt holes here to hold the platform down in addition to these. I'm not going to do that. This is overkill between these two. I'm just going to use the large one, so I won't be using these smaller ones. I will be using the smaller ones up front. There's going to be one here, and there's going to be one here. All right, well, I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. Is it perfect? No. Does it need to be? No, not really. So I've got both bolts in the back here ready to go. Again, we're going to lay the platform down on here, check out the fit, but it's really going to stand proud on these bolts at first. So I'm going to have to pound on them with with a rubber mallet over wood, and then to make an impression underneath. Then we'll drill out those holes, and then we'll go for the first official test fitting. But I think we're ready to at least get it in here and maybe get those holes drilled out. When first attempting to install the platform, I had a couple of issues that needed to be addressed. The first was this rear passenger side corner interfering with the door hinge, which just would not let me set the platform down flat. and which needed to be trimmed off. The second was that the rear door would not close all the way and required trimming the back of the panel also. I first started with a half-inch trim, but it ultimately took a full inch with additional trimming at the rear driver's side also. All right, attempt number 2. That was it. Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so it's up high because it's on the bolts right now. All right, so next step is to tap on the bottom or tap on the top, make the impressions of those bolts on the bottom, and then drill those out so we can get the final fitting. But it's fitting pretty good. Pretty cool. You can see got my access panel here to that storage space underneath. It's fitting pretty good along the curves everywhere. And over here, fitting pretty good. Pretty happy with the fit. Cutting off that little extra piece made the difference on getting past. It was this thing right here I was having trouble with. But if we go around here, you can see where it drops off here. I've got access. I'll have a wall right in here. So we'll have one, storage spot there, another one here. So we'll have 2 braces, one brace along here, all the way along the front, another brace all the way under here. And yeah, pretty cool. All right, let's get those impressions made of the bolt locations, and then we'll drill out the holes. All right, guys, I'm not sure this is going to come out on the video. I'll take it with my iPhone as well, but there's an impression here. You can see there's another one right here, and another one right here. All right, we'll get these drilled out and try for another refit. Okay, for this first hole, I'm going with a Forstner bit that's a bit larger than the bolt. I think it's an M6. Anyway, this is a 5/8 inch Forstner bit. It's a little bit larger than the bolt hole, just to give me some wiggle room. If I were to go straight through with this, I would definitely be, getting a bunch of splinters on the other side. So what I'm going to do is drill with this tiny hole first, just to mark the very center, and then we'll go from the top side down versus from the bottom side up. All right, a couple things. And looking down through the board, I can see I need to widen this a little bit more for the bolt that's right here. So that's why that's marked with the pencil. And then this is going to be the location where the drill bit came through for the larger bolt. So I'll make sure that's centered on that. All right, there is a very small hole right here for a very small tie-down bolt. For all of these, I'm going with a larger diameter than is needed, just so there's some wiggle room when fitting this in. And so this will be definitely larger than what's there. Okay, for these last 2, they're located here, and on the other side, just one size larger drill bit. Again, to give us some wheel room. Split out. Well, I'll either have to glue that down or putty it over. Great. Okay, all the holes are drilled. All right, you can probably see I had a little bit of tear out right here. It's not going to be a big deal because this will be painted black with, what's it called, a Herculiner. It's basically a truck bed liner type material. So this will just be filled in with some wood putty, sanded flat. Not a big deal, but we're ready to put this in and see how it works for another test fit. There, that's on. Okay, yeah, it is over the bolt holes. All right, we are over the bolt here, and glad I gave a little extra room there. And then I did widen this one out a little bit, this little slot, so it's fitting over the bolt right here. So that's looking good. Check the other side. Yeah, so over here, we're definitely missing that bolt there, which is great. And here we've got the bolt exposed here. All right, well, something to keep in mind here. So this fits around this bolt just fine. I was thinking I was going to be able to use these bolts for a tie down or a hold point, but the bolt does not come up high enough for a nut to really catch it. Even if I recessed over this, I just don't think it's going to work out really well. It's not enough to really hold securely. So I think these holes do need to be here for the thing, for the platform to rest over them. So the holes are definitely needed, but now what I need to do is put in a hole for that smaller one that we did, like up in front. So I'm going to put those back on here and tap again, mark them, drill them out, and at least now we know it all fits, and we can move on to the next part. Right, so the bolts are all in the platform now, the four that were originally tie-down bolts. They will be recessed with a washer, but just checking to see if everything fits. At this point I can say everything officially fits, and time to move on to some other things we'll talk about here in a minute. All right, well, I am pretty happy the way this has gone so far. Everything's fitting pretty well. So the back part here, I did have to cut a full inch for the door to be able to close. And then I also had to do a little inset edge here, just because the back side of the door here kind of bulges out here where the latch is. So I did a little like indentation here, which is fine. It now closes fine. Everything fits. It fits over the bolts just fine. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. One thing I did notice underneath here is the storage place, and the original plastic kind of liner for that actually fits under the platform just fine without interfering with it. So I put that back in, and so now I have that under the platform, and kind of cleans up this edge here where the plastic liner was not in place, so that looks better. I could cut this back a little more to have better access to these little pockets, but honestly I want to keep the platform as far to the back of the Jeep as possible, so I don't really want to do that, at least not yet. Maybe down the road I will. Getting access to these small pockets is not as important as making sure the platform has as much coverage as possible over the back of the Jeep. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. It's fitting nicely in here. You know, I've sanded out some of the holes that I had to put in for the template. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to router out like a 1/8 inch round over on the edges here with the router all the way around, just to clean up the edges on this thing. Okay, the next thing I'm going to be doing is recessing these bolts, which will have a washer around them. So I've got to create a recessed part for them. But if you can see, this one's kind of going that direction, leaning. And then the one in the back is leaning, probably can't really see it, it's leaning towards the back here. It's leaning that direction. So I'm going to widen those holes a little bit more, pencil which side needs to be widened, and then we'll get to recessing them. The other two over on that side seem to be in pretty good shape. All right, so I've drilled out these holes for these hold down bolts I'll be using. One issue I had was the Forstner bit, once you got a hole drilled, it just wants to walk all over and not be centered directly over the hole. What I want to do is create a recessed area for the washer. Instead, I used this, which centers itself over any hole you drill. Of course, it makes it bigger at the bottom, but that's going to work perfectly. That washer will lock in as it's pulled down. It gets narrower and narrower as the hole goes deeper. So that's going to work just fine. Good enough. And then I'll sand out that little rough spot from the Forstner bit and maybe putty it over. All right. You know that feeling you get when you're going down a path that just isn't right, but you keep going thinking you can salvage the situation? It's kind of what happened when I went to do the mounting bolts for this platform. There are 4 tie-down bolt locations on the back of the Jeep, and 2 here, 2 further up front here. And my initial thoughts were I wanted to recess this bolt in with a washer. And so at first I was going to just drill a hole slightly larger than the bolt itself, just to have some wiggle room, because, you know, as you're placing this thing in, you can't be an exact. So I had a little bit larger drill bit to allow me to make sure these would fit over the locations I wanted to have the bolts in. And that was the first mistake, using this larger drill bit, because the idea was to use a Forstner bit to be the size of the washer, and the Forstner bit, you know, would allow me to drill a larger diameter than the bolt hole itself, and set down the washer and the bolt together in a recessed manner down below the level of the platform, and basically be flush or below the level of the platform. The first mistake was drilling a large diameter hole, because the Forstner bit won't track over that. I should have drilled the Forstner bit first, which would have been maybe a third of the way down the platform level, just enough to set the head of the bolt and the washer below the level of the platform. So I should have used the Forstner bit first, then drilled in the center of the Forstner bit with the larger diameter drill. But I didn't do that. That would have been the right way to do it. Instead, I started out with this, and which was, you know, not a bad idea. It allowed me a little bit of wiggle room if the bolt locations weren't quite exact. And in fact, for the passenger side, the 2 on the passenger side, these were right dead center over where the bolts needed to go in to the platform. However, on the driver's side, both bolt locations, for whatever reason, were off center. They were not located exactly where they needed to be. And these bolts, you could see as they were trying to fit in them, they were going in at angles because they were rubbing up against the edge of the platform, because the holes were not centered. And I don't know why, because I pounded over where these were in the platform, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. But after I'd already drilled these large diameter holes, the Forstner bit was no longer an option, because this would just go around in a weird manner. It would not track over the center of the hole. And since I knew these were now off center, I had to drill a larger diameter hole. And I thought the solution would be one of these step drill bits, which are nice because they will center directly over a hole, and they just keep going, getting bigger and bigger as you go down. And I thought to myself, well, that's okay. The washer will catch on this funneled shape hole. The washer will catch, and not such a big deal. It'll still be able to find the original location and go down and lock down the platform. Even though I kind of knew, nah, that's not really a clean way to do it. This will likely get pulled through the platform if you put any pressure on the bolts. But I still went ahead and did it. And that was a huge mistake, huge mistake. So what's the fix? There is a fix. And the fix is going to be to drill new holes, probably about 2 inches above each of these 4 locations. Do all 4. And the fix is going to be to drill into the metal platform underneath in the Jeep itself. Forget the wood for right now. The metal base platform that's on the bottom of the Jeep. I'm going to drill into that and put in what are called nutserts, which allow a bolt to be screwed into that metal platform, because these are actually squeezed onto the sheet metal that creates the bottom platform of the Jeep. You have a special tool that basically compresses this around that sheet metal and allows you then to insert a bolt into it and screw it in, just like that. Now, I have drilled into the platform before, so I know it's doable, because I did it for my RV water pump. And this also gives me the option now, maybe using a larger bolt than the M6, which are pretty small, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that, to be honest. But at the very least, that's the plan going forward, is to drill in these nutserts, get these in. And the way I'm going to do it now is I'll have the platform inside the Jeep, and I will drill through first with a very small diameter hole through the wood and mark the location underneath the platform. Once I'm absolutely confident this platform is exactly where it needs to be, I'll drill through with a small diameter, mark that under location of the drill bit mark, or even drill through the platform if the drill bit's long enough, which I don't think it will be. But at least mark the exact location of where the nutsert needs to go, then drill the larger diameter hole for the nutsert itself. Use the nutsert tool to compress it in on the sheet metal of the platform, of the metal platform, and then should have the exact location for where the screw needs to go, or bolt. So that's the plan. And yeah, sometimes disasters do strike during these projects. So the fix for the holes is going to be what's called epoxy putty. And it's very, very strong material. If you've never used it before, it will set in like concrete, very, very hard. It's possible I could even drill through and use those holes again with the epoxy putty, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to rely on that. But it will create a nice solid fix for those holes. I can sand over them and make them flush again with the platform. And since the platform is going to be painted anyway, it's not really a huge deal. But just one of those things you come across sometimes when you're doing a project that kind of knew you were going down the wrong path. And like I said, the real fix would have been to do the Forstner recessed hole first, maybe a third of the way into the platform, and then drill through the middle of that Forstner hole, if that's the way you wanted to do it. So, okay, so on to that, and we'll get going on that fix next, and then moving on with the rest of the project. All right, so we have the nutsert tool here. They have different sizes. This is an M6 size that I have on here right now. I'm just verifying it does match the thread of the M6. And then it's really important to make sure the hole you drill is exactly the size that you need for the nutsert. Done. All right, well, I'm really pleased with the way this came out. These nutserts are in here nice and tight. Sometimes I've had issues with nutserts, depending on the thickness of the material you're dealing with. But these have all gone in really, really nice. And they should be located exactly over where the platform was. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Forstner bit and go from there. All right, so using the small diameter holes that are already here now, the Forstner bit should track pretty well over those, and then we'll check the fit with the washer. I don't want to go too far. I think that's probably good enough. And even if the bolt sits a little proud, that's not a huge deal. And these washers will be painted black. Yeah. All right, just a little more. Good enough. All right, we'll do the other three. Okay, ready to drill the final hole. I'm going to use a slightly larger drill bit than the bolt, just to give me, again, a little bit of wiggle room. I'm not going to drill it exactly to the diameter of this bolt. But yeah, we'll drill right through the center of these where the Forstner bit went in and go from there. So. All right, let's see how this goes. Wow, found it. Nice. Okay, I'll do the next one. So if you didn't catch it before, but these washers will be painted black before I'm done. Not bad. All right, well, I am pleased with the way this came out, even though it started out as a disaster with these holes. This has worked out extremely well for me. I'm very happy with it, and boy, lesson learned, I'll tell you. So I'm waiting for the epoxy putty to arrive by Amazon. I live kind of in a remote area, so it's not like I can just run to the store and get some. But I think it's arriving today. That'll be the next step to repair these holes, sand them down. And then if you haven't heard before my prior videos, this is all going to be painted black with a truck bed liner called Herculiner. And so that's the plan. So pretty happy with these recessed bolts and washers. And the next step now, after the putty of the holes, will be to do the storage compartment separators, which are also going to be braces for the front of the platform. So stay tuned for that. All right, well, I've got my trusty supervisor Walter here, but we're ready to get started on the repair of these holes. I'm sure some of you can relate. It always seems with my projects that there's always something that happens where one project ends up being 2 or 3 projects you didn't anticipate. And this is definitely not disappointing at this point. So what I have here is the epoxy putty. It's 2 different parts, an activator, I think, that goes to the actual putty itself. I'm not sure this is enough. I think it'll work. I think this will be enough. If it's not, I'll have to order some more. So this board is flipped upside down right now. So my thought is to screw this down on the bottom. So when we flip it over, I have a flat surface to push the putty into against. And these screws, I'm confident, will not go through the whole way. They'll lag into the board here, but not go all the way through. I don't have any wax paper, so I'm hoping that a little piece of, this is just some Ziploc baggy material, placed basically over here like that, and then with the wood block, hoping that'll keep it from wanting to adhere to this wood block. And so then we'll start mixing up these things. It's basically a 1-to-1 ratio, and we'll mix that up and start patching up these holes and see how that goes today. All right, so we have the epoxy putty out, ready to go. Like I said, we got about 30 minutes here to work with this. I'm going to use all of it. I think it'll work. If not, we'll get some more down the road here. I think though, just to break it up, maybe in the 3 different pieces here. Actually, this might be more than enough. I'm thinking now. Really want to make sure that hole's filled really good. Don't want to leave too much, and any minor imperfections I can fill in with wood putty, because I got a feeling this stuff's going to be hard to sand off. Okay, on to the next one. Okay, this is the underside. We're going to just take these off. It's been a few hours. Oh yeah, that'll work. All right, so once this is fully cured, and it did say actually 24 hours, we'll flip this back over and sand the top. All right, it's 24 hours later, and this is like concrete. Extremely hard. I tried not to build up too much of any kind of surface build up on this, because it's extremely hard to sand, and by trying to sand this area down, you're going to sand the wood down around it and have a depression. So I'm not worried about any little imperfections in this. I just wanted to scrape it off and have it be as smooth as possible, and then any imperfections I'll fill in with wood putty. But this is not going anywhere. So good tip if you ever need to repair something that's going to last. Wood putty definitely would not have lasted in here. It would have broke out at some point. All right, well, you're looking at the final lockdown of the platform. Before we move on to the next chapter, we've got all the washers and bolts in place, the new ones. There, there, and there. And you can also see the repair as well, which came out really good. Really happy with it. So you won't see those at all once it's painted. So what is next? We're finally moving on to the next chapter, which is going to be building the bracing for the front, as well as the compartments. Okay, we are ready to start working on the platform supports, and those are going to be running the full length of this plywood sheet from left to right. So there'll be a full 48 inches wide. There'll be one here going along the front, one in the middle here, in between the storage compartments, and those strips will basically create the storage compartments. I'll probably have one running this way as well between them. The level here is a very long level. It's a 6-foot level, I believe, and it is perfectly flat with the platform right now. That is, there's no gaps underneath it. I thought that maybe this would be tilting down slightly in the front due to its own weight, because it's basically spanning out over the Jeep here, but it's absolutely flat with the level, the whole distance of the plywood sheet. If I lift up on the front here, it creates a dip in the middle here where there's space under the level, so it's telling me it is perfectly flat right now. The distance from the bottom of the Jeep here, the carpeting up to the bottom of the platform, is about 7 1/4 to 7.5 inches. That matches almost exactly what Mark Boulain did in the link below. He had a JK as well and was doing these same sort of storage platform supports. And so that's good to see. We're pretty much right on the money with what he did. So we'll be cutting these strips out about 7.5 to 7 1/4 inches high, the full length of the plywood sheet, 48 inches long. We'll have to do a cutout for the drive shaft that goes down the middle, so there'll be we have to adjust for that hump in the middle for those supports. Yeah, we'll get going on that next. So stay tuned. All right, so to mark out for the hump that goes over the drive axle, we measure to the center of the board here. It's 48 inches wide, so go to 24 inches. You're going to go 3 3/4 inches down from that center point, 3 3/4. And that's going to mark the center of the hump. All right, so from these 2 points, this is the top of the hump here, 6 1/4 inches wide. 3 3/4 inches down from the top of the board, and the board's 7 1/4 inches wide. Now we just need to do a 45. First draw that line. And we'll do 45 from that point. All right, so it's going to be the cutout for the hump here. This gets cut out. All right, so this is what the piece looks like when it's cut out. And this will be the front piece, 7 1/4 inches high. Okay, for the back piece, I moved the front piece to the back here to show you something that's going on here. There's this rise up in here comes up that the front board is resting on. So, and then there's a pretty big gap here at the back. It looks about to be like 1 inch. I don't know if that's going to show up on the camera, but a 1 inch gap right here. So I'm going to cut this board. Looks like 8 1/4 is about right. I'm going to cut it 8 1/4 inches thick or high. We'll do the same notch out, and then we can adjust for these sides. It does the same thing on the other side. So it's got this deeper section here, and then it comes up about 1 inch on the ends here. All right, so now we have a piece that's 8¼ inches wide, top to bottom. And we're going to do the same, 3¾ from the top down, 6¼ inches wide with 45s coming off each of those. And then we'll deal with the end pieces, how to adjust those, and do a test fit and see how this goes. All right, so the braces are in. I will be doing an end piece here. We'll do a middle piece and then another end piece over there. But it does track nicely with the level. There's no gaps under the level. So I think I got them pretty much where I want to be. I'll go over next the dimensions of these in general. All right, well, we've got these main support pieces done. There's still a little bit more to do, but I'll just describe what these dimensions are before we move on. Sorry about the mess in the garage here. I'm working on multiple projects at the same time, including a new workbench here. But the front piece here that's closest to the seats, the front seats of the Jeep, let's do some measurements here. So it's the same width as a sheet of plywood, 48 inches this way. These dimensions are a little different than what I mentioned from Mark Boulain's video, so this is what worked for me to keep the platform flat without any bows in it. From the top of the platform down to the top of the drive shaft, measuring 24 inches in, I am at 3 3/8 of an inch to the top of this cut that goes over the hump of the drive shaft. And then that dimension at the top there is 6½ inches long from here to here. So you come down at 24 inches, you come down 3 3/8, and then you make a cut 6½ inches wide from, or 3 1/4 from each center line. Then it's 45 degrees down. The actual height of this was 7 inches is what worked for me for the front panel. So it was pretty simple. It just had that hump in the middle to deal with. The back panel actually has a little bit more complexity to it. So for this one, again, it's 48 inches long, same as a sheet of plywood. And then from the center, 24 inches in the center, to the top of this piece that goes over the hump of the drive shafts is 3 1/4 inches. And then the width of that is 6½ inches. And then it's, again, a 45-degree angle down. The actual height of this piece total is 7 inches, same as that piece. And then these pieces that come in, they have to go over a little hump in the Jeep in the rear part where this is. It's 5½ inches in with a 45-degree cut on both sides here, 5½ inches in, and then a 45-degree cut coming in. So I think everybody would probably, just need to double check your own dimensions when you do this. But this is what looks like it's working for me to keep my platform completely level. And yeah, so now we're going to do some side pieces, a center support piece, and we should be almost done. There's a little bit more I want to do, and I'll show you that coming up in a little bit. Stay tuned. All right, well, I'm just using this piece of machined aluminum, which is just awesome. It's basically a right angle machined aluminum that you can put in and make sure you have a clean right angle. You can clamp this down. Really good for like making cabinets and things like that. But just checking this out, and it is going to work good. These are fitting nicely. I'm going to be doing next a panel for the side here that covers the side of these compartments. However, on this side, I'm only going to be doing it for this rectangle shape here. This last little triangle shape, I'm going to actually leave that open so I can reach in and get to my water hose. On the other side though, we will completely enclose the side. The other thing I want to do is I want to cut these panels back, each of these back a 1/2 inch, so I can inset in the panel here on the side, so it will sit underneath the platform basically. So that's what I'll be doing next. I'll be cutting these main braces back a 1/2 inch on each side. Then I'll be fitting in a side piece. On this side, it'll just be a pretty simple rectangle. For the other side, I'll have to fit it in with this little rectangle piece back here, but it shouldn't be too difficult. We'll cut those out of some scrap pieces next. Okay, second test fit, I kind of rounded the curve here, made it a little steeper end. And what I want to make sure is it fits under the platform, because that's what we're going to be doing here. And yeah, it fits underneath. All right, we can trim the wood some more, but that'll be pretty close. All right, well, I'm pretty happy with the fit on the driver's side. It's looking pretty good. Curve fits nicely in here. So driver's side's done, and the passenger side will just be a simple rectangle. We'll do that next. Well, after doing a little bit more checking of the dimensions, decided to do a template here with a piece of cardboard to get a little better fit. Here's where I'll have access back to the water hose, but that looks like a pretty good fit to me for the passenger side. So that's what we'll cut out next. All right, well, I'm really pleased with the way this has come out. It's looking good on the passenger side with access in now to grab the water hose for the water system. Next steps are to start connecting these compartment pieces together, and we'll be doing that next. All right, we're in the home stretch for sure, guys. All we're going to be doing here is attaching these panels together and figuring out how I'm going to attach them to the platform. For the panels themselves, I think what I'm going to do, like with this piece here on the end, we'll just be using glue and brad nails in, which are very fine, like carpentry finish nails. And that will be pretty much good enough, especially when you got this end piece, the other end piece, and I'll have a middle piece I still need to cut to attach these all together. But if I don't feel it's quite strong enough, I'm going to use these angle brackets in the corners to give it additional rigidity, which I think will do just fine for strengthening the bottom platform supports. But then for the connection of the platform to the storage panels, I think I'm just going to do those angle brackets for now. I'm not going to shoot in brad nails or anything like that, because this will allow me to first put in the storage platform separate from the DIY platform, and then put the platform on top, and all I have to do is reach underneath through these access holes and screw in these last nails and last screws into the top of the platform. I could, glue it up and put brad nails in or screws. The problem with that is if I ever want to take this panel out again, it's going to be a major process. And for right now, until I'm sure this is how I want this platform to work, I may be making other adjustments down the road. I do want to be able to separate the panel out and take it out without it being a major chore, so to speak. So that's the plan. And if it doesn't work, I'll let you guys know. But I think these angle brackets are going to be more than strong enough to hold everything together and keep the platform very secure to the bottom compartments. All right, I'm about to get ready to start gluing up and nailing these panels together. I've got this middle piece now cut, so that's ready to go. That'll be the first one I'll do. But just wanted to show you this corner clamp kit. I mentioned it briefly earlier in the video, but this thing is awesome, the way these clamps work and keep everything square, and these panels don't rock back and forth. Really, really neat. This is the kit right here. It's in my Amazon store. It has its own storage container, some more clamps. Really, really cool. So just FYI, if you're doing any sort of woodworking, this is an awesome kit to have. Good. And again, we're not attaching it to the platform. We'll be using the angle brackets for that at the very end. Yeah. All right, well, we've got the brackets in, and for myself, I think this is going to be plenty strong enough. So let me show you what I've done here, guys. As you see, I've done the gluing up and the brad nails. I've now just puttied over the holes for the brad nails here. I also added in these angle braces in all the corners, and I think those are going to be plenty strong. And then to mount this to the platform, I've got 4 angle braces along this board, and I've got 4 angle braces along this board, which I will reach under and mount from underneath once it's in the Jeep. And I haven't done it yet, but I'll probably drill little pilot holes here just to help the screws go in. And then to keep this thing centered, I've got these blocked in. See the block in the corner there? Kind of helps me guide and know when this thing is centered in where it needs to be. More blocks here. And basically blocks it from front to back and from left to right. So with those blocks, I'll know when it's placed in the right spot, and that will also help make sure that if I do pre-drill these holes, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to do just tiny little starter holes, then hopefully those holes all line up when I reach in and put the screws in, which I'm thinking I'm going to just do by hand. I think that's going to work, and if it doesn't, I can always use brad nails or screws down the road and screw it in. But for now, this is the way I want to do it, just so that if I do want to pull the platform back out, it's not going to be a huge mega deal to do it. I'm still going to drill some holes through this platform just for wires to go through, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, I think this is ready to go back in the Jeep, see how it all looks, and see if we're finally done with this portion of the project. Okay, so all that's left to do next is screw in the bolts from underneath to the bottom of the platform, and then put in the actual M6 bolts from the top down on the back part of the platform. And then it'll be fully secured in the Jeep. All right, well, this little tool here seems to be the ticket for getting in here and getting these screws put in. Yeah, you don't want to over tighten them, that's for sure. All right, well, it's another day. Got a little late last night, and we're just going to continue locking down the platform with these screws, and then we'll do the M6 bolts in the back here, and we're basically done. All right, so this is the tool I was using, guys, a little mini ratchet tool, and this was the screws I was using, and I think it's going to work. If not, I'll let you know. Next up is to install the M6 bolts. All right, one final last walk around of this portion of the project. Tie down bolts in the back here are in. We got the cutout here for the back section of the Jeep, which seems to be working good now. No interference with the rear tailgate. Side panels are in place, and the lids and storage compartments are in. All right, well, this part 3 video has been really fun to do, to get this platform going and kind of see it finally come into shape. We did have that major mistake I made, and you know, things like that happen, but I'm very confident the repair is going to be a long-lasting one. So it is what it is, and hopefully, you know, you guys can see if you do have mistakes like that, there's usually a workaround to correct it and move on. For part 4, we have a bunch of things to get done still. We'll be installing these LED light strips in each of the 4 compartments in the front part of the platform. We'll be installing these low-profile latches that will be in each of the 5 lids. We need to strap down. This will be bent into a 90-degree angle, the strap. Half of it's going to go on the platform below the, on the compartment section below the platform will be attached to that. And then the other side is going to be attached to the bolt on the floor of the Jeep that was originally for the seats. So each side of the compartment, I guess is best to say, will have a strap on it that goes down onto a bolt in the floor of the Jeep that was originally for the seats. And we'll make sure that platform's completely locked down, just like the platforms locked down to the bottom of the Jeep. We'll also be doing this Herculiner material. It's a truck bed liner material. We'll be painting the platform with this. Several coats for sure, 2 or 3 coats I'm thinking right now. Probably paint the bottom compartment section with like a rattle can black paint. I'm not gonna wait, this stuff's expensive. It's like $100 a gallon. So we'll probably just rattle can or do something, a roll-on black paint for the compartment section. The water bottles, I want to either create some tie-down hooks for these to secure them to the platform, or make a little like surround of nailed-in wood pieces that kind of lock the water bottles into a specific section of the platform. So yeah, there's still lots to do. Plus, we have to do the slide out, probably one of the most important things for the fridge freezer. So the IceCo slide out will be installed in the next video. And speaking of IceCo, right now you can click on the link below and get 12% off any of their products, as long as it's not in a sale or promotion period. They have excellent products. Highly recommend you check out that link if you want 12% off. And so in part 4, we'll probably give you a sneak peek of the APL 55, but in part 5, we will do a full unboxing and go over the full features of the APL 55 fridge freezer, which is a dual zone refrigerator and freezer. All right, and if I haven't said this already, apologize for the mess in this garage. I am in the process of doing other projects, one of which is a new workbench here that I'm working on, and other things, and trying to reorganize this whole place. So guys, I really appreciate watching. If you consider liking, commenting, subscribing, it all helps. And like I always say at the end of my videos, hope to see you on the trail someday. Thanks for watching.